The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
You're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2017. Thanks so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure. What's going on? A lot happening. So I'm getting ready to speak with H.A. Goodman. I've been talking about it here and there and hinting towards it. But wanted to have a conversation with an old friend. We kind of started back during the primaries. We started back in the primaries discussing everything. And there's a song. I think the best way to describe it is a song by Chance the Rapper. Who says, he has a song that says, "We don't do the same drugs no more." We don't do the same drugs no more. Like we started off on the same page, and now it's like my boy is going off to do some old crazy stuff. So I'm actually messing with him because he's here on standby, getting ready to pull him on. And but before I do that, thanks to all the supporters of the show. I always like to start off by thanking you guys, without whom I cannot do this. So special thanks to all of you. Let's jump right in. A whole long list of things happening that we need to discuss. And maybe if HA is still cool with me after we get done talking, I'll let him stay. If he has the time, also, because he's a very busy guy. He'll stay on and we'll chat about some of the issues that are happening. HA, my dude, how's it going, man? Thanks so much for joining us.
Ben, thank you so much for this opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, the pleasure's mine, man. The pleasure's mine. I don't
know what drugs you do, but I used to have my marijuana license.
Yeah, well, so if we were going to do an analysis of Chance the Rapper's song, where people start off doing the same thing, and then as life goes on, they start doing other things, I think it's comparable. We could say that back in the primaries, you and I, we were smoking the same weed back in the primaries, and now you've escalated, man. You're over there.
I've laced it with something,
dude. I don't know if it's PCP, LSD. Okay, let's leave the drug analogies alone because somebody might take us seriously here.
I don't even smoke it. I don't smoke anymore. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. No comment. Anyway, let's talk, man. It's been a while. It's been a while. You haven't been on the show probably in over a year. First of all, congratulations on all of your success. You're still making a lot of moves. You made a lot of moves during the primary. You're a very vocal Bernie supporter. So just off at the top, man, just congratulations on everything that you're doing. But now, let's just cut right to it. Why are you so obsessed still? Hillary Clinton has no power, H.A. She's done. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see Chelsea Clinton come out of the dungeon, and she needs to go back into the dungeon from which she came. But Hillary is done, man. What's up with the obsession with her?
All right, so I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Okay.
And the dungeon... That's a great analogy, and all the decisions are being made from that dungeon. And here's why. When I focus on, let's say I defend Trump from this entire ridiculous Russian hacking narrative, and I say that it's based on nonsense, and I can explain why, later on in the conversation. But it's not like the Democratic Party said, "Oh, okay, well, we cheated Bernie Sanders. And so we're going to learn from this by, electing Keith Ellison or even better, Samuel Ronan." They picked Tom Perez. Okay. Aside from that, Trump won the election because he stood for something, not anything that I agree with. I know you don't agree with his policies, but people confuse rallying and circling the wagons, or a lot of people, I'm not saying you, but a lot of people confuse, you gotta be loyal now to the Democratic Party, because if you're not loyal, it only helps Trump. But I was hearing that, Ben, in 2015, when I wrote a Hill article The title literally was Why Sanders Defeats Trump, but Trump Defeats Clinton. I got so much hate. You know all the hate I got. Hit pieces, Daily Beast. Got hit pieces on me. So my thing is the notion that Hillary isn't running the show, the fact that we're talking about Russia, the Democratic Party right now, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow is not talking about Flint tonight. She's not talking about ending perpetual counterinsurgency wars. She's not talking about breaking up too big to fail banks or banning fracking or, Democrats that focus on regulation. What about a green economy like Jill Stein? These are like, whatever you want to call the label progressive or people say, oh, the environment without climate change. Look what Trump is doing to the EPA. Yeah, well, he's a Republican, and the Republican beat Clinton. That's not good. I don't agree with it. But what bold stance do Democrats have? Have they circled a date on the calendar where we're not using fossil fuels anymore? No, that's the Green Party.
Okay.
If they did,
go ahead.
Go on.
No, go ahead. Finish that thought.
I'm saying if they did, there would be no Trump. But my thing is, I focus on Hillary because.
Oh man, you like literally froze up right as you were. I thought there was a really tense, deep thought of reflection right there, but we lost your signal. So we're going to try to reconnect you. The system is trying to reconnect you. So we'll try to get him reconnected so we can jump right back into the conversation as to why he focuses on Hillary so much. Let's see how quick we can do this. It was starting to get good. Let's see. How does this work? Hold tight, ladies and gentlemen, while I reconnect H.A. Goodman so he can finish that thought. And I don't know. You got to be kidding me here. Okay, so I'm gonna look for him on Twitter to see maybe there's something happening. Interesting. See if there's something happening with his connection over there. Maybe his computer froze up or something. Well, that sucks. The conversation was just getting ready to get good. So in the meantime, while I try to figure out what's going on with HA, the phone lines are open, 857-600-0518, and there are plenty of news stories that we need to cover. So let's put a pause there and see what's happening with HA Goodman and his signal. Hey, are you there? Lost your signal. All right. So we'll start over from scratch whenever we get HA back on the line. This is what happens live sometime, especially when you're doing it via the internet. All right. In the meantime, let's talk about all of this stuff that Trump is doing that we don't like. Let's talk about the International Women's Day, which was a great celebration. We want to talk about net neutrality, the issues going on there, some undocumented workers, and particularly I want to start with Breitbart, an internal civil war that is brewing inside of the conservative movement. I wondered how long it would take. I really genuinely wondered how long it would take for the alt-right, far-right faction of the Republican Party of the conservative movement, more specifically, to fall out of grace with the White House. And it seems as though it has come to a boiling point already. The conservative movement has lashed out with regard to Obamacare or Obamacare Light and the GOP's version of Obamacare. And it is coming to the forefront, particularly with Steve Bannon and his former, the platform for which he was former manager, executive chief. I forgot his exact position, editor-in-chief, we'll call it that for now. He's coming to blows with Breitbart. So there's conservative media is really enraged with the plan, the House Republicans' plan, specifically because it doesn't go far enough. Conservatives and the far right conservatives, they want a full repeal of Obamacare. That's the starting position. The starting position for them is not to have this piecemeal solution, rather to have a full-blown repeal of it and then some replacement, particularly in Breitbart. And anyone who knows Breitbart, you understand the type of mentality and thinking that goes on there. So it's no surprise that this civil war has already come to a head. And this is a high level issue, right? We're not talking about just arguing between conservatives, conservative bloggers. We're talking about a full-on war between the president's favorite news media outlet, Breitbart, and the president's not counsel, that's the wrong phrase, but special assistant to the president, Steve Bannon. So this is a direct conflict going on between Breitbart and the Oval Office with Steve Bannon. Essentially the honeymoon period is over. By they I mean Breitbart, they've been reluctant to attack Reince Priebus and other RNC members, but not anymore. The Breitbart, the website, deemed Paul Ryan's Obamacare 2.0. They've deemed his plan to be Obamacare 2.0, and they told their readers that the legislation gives illegal aliens health care and welfare entitlement. And as a result of that headline, Steve Bannon essentially lashed out against Breitbart, against the leadership over there, because he cannot have this leading, and surprisingly slow. Like, why the hell is Breitbart leading anything? But this leading conservative rag, he cannot have it undermine what President Trump is trying to do. President Trump is going to take whatever he can get, no matter how damaging the bill is. From just a human perspective, the bill is damaging. The bill is going to hurt a lot of people. But then also from a conservative perspective, it just doesn't do what conservatives want. Conservatives want to completely eradicate Obamacare. They want to hurt more people. And so Donald Trump is stuck in the middle of doing something stupid and not doing something stupid enough to pacify his conservative base. And in that middle, he is actually full-throated embrace Paul Ryan's plan. So it undermines President Trump for Breitbart to be taking it to Obamacare 2.0, as they've deemed it. Matthew Boyle is the website's Washington editor. And today he went after Sean Spicer, the president's press secretary. He said he went after them for, quote, inaccurately saying the bill fully repeals Obamacare. Now, this is a true statement. Matthew Boyle went after him because this bill does not fully repeal Obamacare. In fact, the bill references Obamacare. It doesn't eliminate Obamacare. It takes a few pages of its own personal bill and references Obamacare. So it still exists. So it's not as though Matthew Boyle is wrong on this. He's not. It does not repeal Obamacare. And there was a leaked conversation from their private chat, which kind of gives you in Slack, and it gives you an idea of where this confrontation is going for. And in regards to the demands from Steve Bannon on Breitbart to not attack some of the Republican establishment, Paul Ryan, Reince Priebus, because attacking them on this issue undermines President Trump. This is what Steve Bannon is asking of them. Breitbart says, no, that's not how this is going to go. He said, we are Breitbart. This is war. There are no sacred cows in war. So it gives you an idea of what's brewing and what's getting ready to happen. Donald Trump is getting ready to lose his favorite outlet very quickly because Trump is aligning with Reince Priebus and Paul Ryan for Obamacare 2.0. And as bad, this is the interesting thing. Usually when you do the right thing, you can't satisfy anybody, right? Trying to do the right thing means that people are going to criticize you from both sides. Trump is doing the wrong thing. This American Health Care Act is the wrong move. It is not the fix to Obamacare, which did have problems. It's not a fix. It actually exacerbates the problem. But for doing the wrong thing and not being willing to go even further to be even wronger, which I know what the hell I said, to be even more wrong, instead of doing that, he's getting blasted from the far right because he's not going far enough. So essentially, Breitbart et al. Are saying, Trump, you're not really screwing America good enough for us. And because you're not screwing America good enough for us, we're not going to take it to you yet, but we're definitely going to take it to Reince Priebus. We're going to take it to Paul Ryan, and we're going to take it to this bill that you are rallying the troops. Donald Trump is putting the pressure on the congressional Republicans, saying if we don't do this bill, if we don't act now, there's going to be, quote, a bloodbath in the midterm elections. And so he's putting on this pressure. He's putting his political capital behind Obamacare 2.0. And in actuality, his conservative base, they're not having it. So just a few more fine details to show you how far this goes. Steve Bannon actually told Matthew Boyle of Breitbart to not publish any more stories critical of Reince Priebus. This is a civil war waiting to happen, and it's happening on the highest levels of the alt-right, and which, you know, exists inside of the White House. So this is going to be fun to see. This is one of those situations where you don't take sides, right? When two of your rivals are fighting, you sit back and you let them fight and you let them destroy each other, because both sides of this argument between Steve Bannon in the White House and Matthew Boyle over at Breitbart, both sides are full of it. And both sides ultimately, I hope they cannibalize themselves. All right, folks, let's jump back into this conversation. I have been rejoined. I don't have video from him, but I do have audio. HA, how's it going, man? Check it one more time.
Can you?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you fine.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't see me, though?
I can't see you, but if we hang on, since I've got you, I'm going to do it like this. Let's try it one more time, because we want to get your video back. We want to get this conversation back going, because there we go.
Can you see me now?
It's coming. The video is coming. There we go. I've got video, I've got audio, and I've got you on the split.
So that was on my end. So my computer, and I apologize. I don't know what happened. My computer is just like Russian hackers. So something happened. Something happened on my end, not your end, not your end.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, if he just crashed, maybe my entire show crashed. But I went through I cycled through everything and said, nope, no, this time it wasn't me.
No,
all right,
it's 100% my computer, and I apologize again if. I'll definitely call back right away. But real quick, I guess to finish my thought.
Well, actually, no. Let's start over. Let's kind of start over, because I want to make sure for later when I clip this segment, I want to make sure that it flows well enough. Because if I could give a brief summary of what I heard, and then you can add whatever you want to add. You're essentially saying the Democrats, you feel like Hillary Clinton is not gone. And the way you feel like that she's not gone is because the Democrats haven't moved to any policies that they're positively advocating for. And in a sense, they're demanding that everyone rally bandwagon behind them to fight against Trump. And then you were getting ready to say something about Hillary specifically when you froze. So jump in there.
Yeah, and that's 100% right. And also, she spent $1.2 billion. When I say Hillary Clinton, it's not. Honestly, a lot of times I'm not even focusing on the actual human being. There's this notion or belief in, I don't know. She symbolizes the Democratic establishment. Yeah. So they spent $1.2 billion. Trump spent $600 million. So people are, oh wow, she won the popular vote. Yeah, she outspent him 2-1. Mm-hmm. And Bernie only spent $200 million. So my thing is, we are in March. The Russian hacking thing that the CIA is highly confident and the NSA is only moderately confident about, and the DNC hasn't even given their servers to analyze. And James Clapper on NBC with Chuck Todd said he has no evidence of collusion. This whole thing is to defend Clinton's loss. That's why I understand, like, Clinton's not in the news, but the specter, the aura, whatever, of Hillary is still there. We're still defending the almost the entire liberal
All right,
political media
so let me
establishment.
let's jump in there. Let's jump in there because there's more than two positions in that option that you just gave, right? Yes, there are too many people who are using and we talk about this pretty regularly here. There are too many people who are using the Russian scare, the red specter, to justify Hillary Clinton's loss because they can't imagine how in the world she lost. And so they're using this as a means of justifying it. However, that reality doesn't preclude the possibility that Russia was actually involved in some fashion. I'm not, number one, let's start here. I think you and I both can agree that if anything, it's limited to just some emails being leaked out, like period. There's no Russian hack. There was no Russian hack of any votes. There's nothing of any major significance, right? So nobody is falling into the Joyanne Reed spectrum of this conversation where they literally are pandering us over into a position of war or tension with Russia. But just because they're using the Democratic establishment and people in general are using this as some type of coping mechanism to explain why Hillary lost, it doesn't preclude the possibility that Russia had some involvement. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree with that statement, but I would also, but for me, I would add, if indeed Russian hackers were involved, I think the first and foremost would be to apologize to, I think the DNC should apologize to Bernie Sanders or to Bernie voters or to people who felt cheated. I think the whole
But they're not going to do that.
Behind,
they're
no,
not. Don't wait for that. I mean, why would we even wait for that?
I know. Well, you're 100% right. They're not going to do that. But my point is what the whole issue here, the way I see it, the reason I go after the Democratic Party or Hillary Clinton is that they cheated. They actively cheated the only person who could easily have beaten Trump. So Bernie could have easily defeated Trump because Wisconsin hasn't voted Republican since 1984. Michigan and Pennsylvania haven't voted Republican since 1988.
Right. So let me do a quick summary of the arguments we make here, right? Even if the Russians did hack, they didn't stop Hillary Clinton from going to campaign in Wisconsin. They didn't stop the piss poor canvassing that they did in Florida, right? Hillary did enough to lose this campaign without a Russian hack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And I mean, I firmly forward that. And I think anyone listening or watching the video, if you are using the Russian hack possibility, right? Because none of us have seen the evidence. All of us are doing basic speculation based on what's being leaked to us from intelligence agencies who might have their own political agenda, right? So none of us can prove that Russia did it. And likewise, none of us can prove that Russia didn't do it. But even if they did, Hillary lost this election on her own. And so
Absolutely.
We established that. Let's move to the next portion of that conversation, though. If it comes out and they do an investigation and Russia was involved, what would you say to that?
I would say first and foremost, I want to see the Russian hacking emails. I want to see, the whole the whole issue here is that Russia was involved with WikiLeaks to disclose Neera Tanden saying, yeah, they wanted to get away with it with the server, or Hillary saying, yeah, I take money from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and they fund ISIS. All of these things, or Cheryl Mills saying, "Yeah, the president knows that she has the server."
I get it. Because we're pressed for time. I want to speed by and summarize what you're saying there. It's the content of the emails that's most important to you versus the source of the emails.
I guess my philosophy is this: Debbie Wasserman Schultz forced to resign. Donna Brazil forced to resign from CNN. What did we learn? Trump won. Okay, so we have a Trump presidency. I believe he's going to go 8 years, Ben. I believe he's going to go 8 years. And this is not something I want. And it's not something that I think is a great thing for the country. However, the only thing stopping Trump is a Democratic Party that focuses on bold, big policies like Bernie Sanders. I believe, and I wrote in the Huffington Post, Only Bernie Sanders, Nina Turner, and Tulsi Gabbard defeat Trump. Anyone else loses to Trump. That's my vantage point. So when I tweet like, really extreme things, or when I say extreme things about Democrats or Hillary Clinton, there is a groupthink that is so strong, any really extreme, vantage point that I have isn't going to penetrate that, or won't even. They literally think that there are people who think that Bernie Sanders caused Trump.
Yeah,
and these
sure.
people have influence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I guess where I'm coming from. That nobody's learned anything.
No,
Nobody's
they're
learned
not.
anything from the loss.
But they're not going to learn anything, HA. I mean, I'm not sitting back waiting for them to learn anything, because they're not going to learn anything. The only thing that we can do is actually organize to get those people specifically, out of power. But in the meantime, simultaneously, would you at least agree that the shit that Donald Trump is doing, right? Mm-hmm. Now we can be contrarian and pull up examples of Democrats' problems throughout American history, throughout the last 8 years. We ain't even got to go back far. But Donald Trump is doing things to hurt a lot of people, and he's just gearing up to get started. So while we fight this fight that needs to be fought, no questions asked, we've got to purge the Democratic Party of the current leadership that is using Russia as an excuse to not change anything. We have to fight that fight, but we still have to fight Donald Trump.
I agree with you, and I don't say anything in terms of, I don't tell anyone, I never say to anyone, don't focus on Trump, don't diss Trump, his immigrant ban is good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Or something.
No, okay. You're there.
I don't say anything in terms of, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, yeah, I don't agree with that. And then the historically black colleges, universities, that was a good executive order. But other than that, I don't agree with the immigrant ban. I don't want a wall. I don't want EPA regulations and the repeal of Affordable Care Act. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
On that, I don't say to anybody, don't bring those topics up.
So that being said, all right, so I'm going to shift gears from you being just an average listener who may not have a platform, but you have a platform. I have a platform. You have a voice that people hear, and to me, I can't force this on you, right? I'll admit that. But to me, we have a responsibility. Those of us who have a platform, we have a responsibility to fight the fights that need to be fought, no matter how difficult they are. And right now, the most difficult fight, it's difficult for me to constantly have to fight against Democrats while I'm fighting against Trump. We have a two-front war that we have to fight. And for us to drop the ball on either side, I feel is irresponsible. I feel like it would be completely irresponsible for me to focus only on Trump and not address all of the stuff that led to Trump in the Democratic Party. But likewise, I think it would be completely irresponsible of me to focus solely on the Democratic Party and do nothing to fight back against Donald Trump, who is actively hurting a lot of people. And he's trying to, when I say, yes, Obama hurt a lot of people, but Donald Trump is actively trying to outdo that. It's his mission statement to do more damage than Obama. And we got to address it, man. Where are you? We need you in that fight.
Well, but here's where I'm coming from regarding that. Okay. I appreciate you saying that. And where I'm coming from is this. It's probably a very bizarre or extreme or unique or crazy position. I was called crazy in 2015 and delusional for saying that Hillary couldn't win.
Well, yeah, you were getting some of the stuff. Hey, we'll talk about that later.
It was crazy.
Some of it was a little edge.
I was getting the Daily Beast writing about Ross Story, all these liberal publications who now they hate Trump. But see, I don't. My voice is a different voice from your voice and from other people's voices, and so I'm coming from the vantage point of somebody who tried to tell people what would take place, what's taking place to a great extent. And where I was coming from, I met only like, deep-seated hatred, anger. So there's the entire political establishment, especially liberal or progressive political establishment, is united on going after Trump, which is fine. I never say that Trump's policies are good. I mean, I never write about his policies being good, and I never tweet about his policies being good.
Yeah, but what you do though, let's be fair, man. What you do is the same. And this is where I emailed you and I DM'd you and said, look, bro, I got to unfollow you because I don't want to, because we're friends, right? We started together a few years back, and I was like, dude, I don't want to come for you publicly, so I'm going to unfollow you. And that's when you called me out and you said, why unfollow me when we could just debate about this? So you were right on that. I'll give you that. But this is what you do. Anytime someone makes a valid critique of Donald Trump, because it's effing easy, right? A child can do it. But anytime somebody does that, you retort with a yeah, but. Like, yeah, but. Yeah, Donald Trump is banning Muslims, but something, something, something. Well, there is no but. Donald Trump is doing everything he can to ban Muslims. We need to address that head on without any type of genuflection to try to, or deflection is actually the word. It's just a deflection to what you feel is more important.
But I don't see it as deflection, because when I wrote a tweet, I don't know if you're referencing this tweet, but like it was a tweet. It's kind of, I felt bad writing it, but I said Democratic response to the Trump travel ban is essentially, why can't we just drone and bomb Muslim countries like normal people? It's not like a nice thing to say, but my vantage point is I have seen this extreme hypocrisy for years. I know you have too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my focus on the hypocrisy, I don't think mitigates, because if let's say tomorrow, Ben, I wanted to get a job at Slate, or they'd be like, go screw yourself, you're crazy, we would never hire, So like my vantage point is coming from, we could have had we could be talking about single payer now. We literally, because if you look before the super delegates, she didn't even have 2,383 delegates. That's with cheating. That's with every possible advantage. So that's why I focus on replaying the Democratic primary, because people need to replay it. I don't see Trump losing, even if he does his Breitbart thing you were talking about while I was, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Your image is frozen, but I can hear you fine. So let's just keep trucking. Let's keep going.
Okay. So I don't think that I would make a dent, because everyone is on the same page regarding Trump is crazy. And let me tell you, I do critique him on my YouTube channel, and I do say I don't like his policies, and I do give a roadmap all the time. My roadmap, though, nobody cares about it. Just like they didn't care about my warnings in 2015. The three people right now, the only three people are Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bernie Sanders. They are three threats to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is going to cheat they'll cheat Bernie again. And they'll do it with willingness, with even greater vigor than before. And they'll do it with, when we heard, if you don't fall in line, they'll actually give that comment tenfold. So that's where I'm coming from. I mean, there's nobody really, pointing out the hypocrisy like a laser. Not to say that people should. Everybody has their own voice.
Yeah. Yep.
So when I understand it's frustrating, and I understand, like, okay, obviously to a lot of people, I sound like I'm a Republican or helping the Republicans, but let me tell you, Ben, how many times I heard you sound like a Republican for 2 years. The only reason the Daily Beast wrote a hit piece on me, the only effing reason, was because I wrote about Bernie Sanders. And when I wrote about Bernie Sanders, I was talking about single payer, banning fracking, all of these things. and they couldn't stand it, and they said that I was, I hated Hillary, and I don't hate Hillary Clinton. I don't hate anybody. But my point is, they haven't moved on. They're the ones that haven't moved on. It's not me. They're still
Well,
talking
actually,
about
I'm going to
the
be honest with you. I mean,
Russia.
to be fair and to not be fair. Yeah, no, neither one of you, none of you guys have moved on. And it makes it's understandable because you have these ridiculous people out there who on the Democratic establishment side, they are relitigating the primary tenfold. Like they are still drumming it up, and they're still using it as a means of attacking the progressive movement. So if you haven't moved on, it's probably a big percentage of it is because they haven't moved on. But you guys have this codependent relationship that really, like, both sides.
Yeah,
Y'all,
but
you need to
I'm
sit down and get some counseling
yeah,
or
but
something because it's
I'm
going
like,
crazy.
but I'm like, come on, I'm not really, nobody really. I'm not, Chuck Todd. I'm just, me. I have my little platform, and we're all, doing our thing and growing our platform. You are, I am. I'm not MSNBC. I'm not all of these. That's a machine, and the public relations machine. If I'm like a little bug or a gnat, like a little fly that I'm flying around and stuff, you know, maybe it's good to have a little fly buzzing around that, like me, but like, my, I just, I cannot stand the hypocrisy. And I'm not saying Republicans aren't hypocritical, but one thing Republicans do that at least I give them respect for is Trump is like, oh, court says that my ban won't work. I got more pens. I got more pens. I'm going to go ahead and, sign another travel ban, and I'm going to go ahead. They're true to their value system. Democrats are not true to their value system. In fact, if you have somebody like Jill Stein, oh my God, she's marginalized beyond belief. If you have somebody like Bernie Sanders, he is cheated. And not only is he cheated, we're expected to forget about it. And look, let me tell you, I mean, there are people to the extreme of me. There are people to the extreme of me. Yeah. And so,
I know. I've met
so
some of them.
my,
Trust me. Yeah. Yeah.
my thing is, I just, I don't think, at first I said, I hope that when Trump's going to win, because I knew that Clinton wasn't going to win, but when Trump wins, there's going to be a day of reckoning, and the Democratic Party is going to really have a paradigm shift. The opposite.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Yeah, go ahead.
I thought it was, and I was wrong, and
See, this is what I knew was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. I knew that Donald Trump would be the single greatest fundraising tool for the Democratic Party. I knew that this was going to solidify the establishment in a manner that would make it even more difficult to gut the establishment. I lost. Oh, there you go. I lost. Here you go. I knew that Donald Trump was. Hang on. Say something for me. Oh, there you go. Okay, I see what you were doing. Okay. Yeah, now I've got your video back. Cool. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. All right. So I knew Donald Trump was going to do these things that would make the establishment as it is, the Democratic establishment as it is right now, even more intransigent because they have all the money in the world, and they have all the excuses in the world, and they have this caricature of a human being that they can point to. But the reality of it is that we have to fight on both fronts. And one thing I'll say this, and this is where some of my team gets mad at me because sometimes I try to be too fair, and I'm just not petty enough. I'm learning how to be petty, but I'm going to be fair. You have your platform, you have your voice, and anybody who would come to tell me how to do my thing, I would tell them to kiss my ass. So I'm not going to tell you you have to do this, but I'm going to ask you. I'm coming to you as a brother, because there are groups that are genuinely being hurt here in America in a unique fashion above and beyond what that the Democratic Party has already hurt them, right? He's going above and beyond to harm us. And it's not, I don't need somebody to the left or to the right of me that's an imbecile who thinks Russia changed votes. right? I don't need that type of ally, right? The type of ally I need is someone who is fighting on both fronts, someone who's fighting against the Democratic Party because they are a problem, the establishment, and then fighting against Trump because he's hurting people. And if we're allies with the people he's hurting, then we have to fight him just like we fight this. I don't need people like Sally Albright or these Democratic shills. I don't need them on my side. I don't care if they're attacking Trump. They're not attacking Trump from the right perspective. I need people next, side by side who are fighting Trump from the right perspective as well as fighting against the Democrats. So I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm asking you, man, are you going to join us in this?
I appreciate that, and I definitely consider you a friend and somebody I respect greatly. But hear me out.
Okay, go for it.
When you say there are black voters, gay and lesbian voters, LGBTQ voters, the Dakota Sioux, the water protectors, many of whom I know they, endured freezing water cannons and beatings and getting shot in the face. So that I can name all the groups that you mentioned that are getting, hurt to the extreme of me in terms of their views. Some people, I'm not saying all, I'm saying you can find within those groups that Trump is hurting viewpoints to the extreme of my viewpoint. I would vote for a Democrat if it's Tulsi Gabbard, Nina Turner, or Bernie Sanders.
For sure.
There's a lot of people within the groups that you mentioned who would never in a million years vote Democrat again. Only third party or not vote ever. And that's actually a movement in a lot of different voting groups, not voting at all. So my thing is, I actually think my voice is best, even though a lot of people will be like, oh, whatever, you just pissed off that Bernie lost and that you were, attacked by people. That's in a lot of ways true. but my voice in particular is not so much of a unifying voice anymore for progressive. I don't know if I was ever a unifying voice. Your voice is unifying. Well,
to be clear, I want to make sure I'm not trying to unify with the Democratic establishment. I'm trying to unify amongst progressives. No, I know you know that. I know that's exactly what you're saying, but I want to make sure for the listeners and the audience, like there's some people in the Democratic establishment that if I ran into them in real life, there'd be some problems, right? But go ahead, finish your thought.
But my thing is, let's put it this way. You're not as angry or resentful as I am. That's which are good things, okay? I am, somebody who, at first, let me tell you, where I'm coming from, Ben, is when I first was starting out to write, it actually hurt when people said, you sound like a Republican. That actually hurt me. Like, I was offended, but now that's like candy to me. I don't care at all because I know where that leads. For me, if people say I'm sounding like a Republican, I'm like getting more to the truth. If I say Obama did this, why are people outraged with Trump? It's not to say I love Trump, I'm going to vote for Trump. I don't think that I turn one liberal or progressive voter into a Trump fan because of that tweet or that video or that article or whatever. I think what I do and what I'm hoping to do is say this Democratic Party that's supposed to stand for the values that you're working so hard, all the time in your show and your advocacy, that Democratic Party doesn't care at all. And no amount of, it's all about money, as you said. And I agree with you. And no amount, they don't even want unity. So why would I try? From my voice, I'm coming from a perspective that they tried to steamroll me. I was right. And now I look at what really drives me, Ben, is the militarism. So that from 2014, I started writing on the Huffington Post. The militarism, the neoconservatives then and now are still deciding Democratic foreign policy. That's what really drives me. And so it's the same thing. The refugee, what Trump did with the refugee ban was, messed up. But why do we have this refugee crisis? It's because of George W. Bush, the neocons, the Republicans neocons are now, I mean, you see Ellen DeGeneres and Joy Behar taking pictures with George W. Bush. It's like unbelievable. Like, there are Democrats and liberals retweeting Max Boot, who is a huge neocon. And you know, and so like I can't stand that.
Right.
And that's only going to help Trump win. Again,
Yeah, but okay, so let's because we got the let me jump in there because I want to make sure we cover everything. So once this conversation is over, we'll be done on it and we can move forward. Here, do you honestly believe that Donald Trump's foreign policy is going to depart from neoconservative foreign policy in any significant fashion?
Yes, because they hate him. The neocons hate him. And
yeah, I mean, they can hate him. They can hate him. That's one thing. But you saw that there's a trend when President Obama handed the keys over to Donald Trump, the foreign policy continued. The machine kept rolling on. Donald Trump is not actively doing anything to undo the grip that neocons have on our foreign policy.
He's not going to become Jill Stein. I don't think that he's going to become, you know, he's not an anti, he's a Republican. So he has a different target, right? Instead of the Middle East, he just wants to get the oil from the Middle East, and he wants a conflict with China, right? So he still has a very hawkish foreign policy that neocons may not agree with his foreign policy, but it's still going to yield some of the same results. He's a very destabilizing force on global policy. He's not going to roll back the military industrial complex and our interventionism abroad. He won't roll back the military. For sure, he won't roll back the military industrial complex, but he won't engage in regime change. That's one thing he won't do. And he doesn't, I don't think he gives a crap about removing Assad, which is like what Clinton's like goal in life was. I think that there's certain things that he kind of falls into, not because he's this brilliant guy. I do think that he'll fall into some things, and obviously he's, you know, doing a lot of things I don't like. But I definitely don't critique Democrats because I like Trump. All I'm saying is that if the Democratic Party is not the antithesis in many ways, I don't see them, you know, I see them almost as, the way I see it is a little bit different from, you know, perhaps you and I think most people who want, you know, positive change in America. I see the Democrats as an obstacle, or the Democratic National Committee, or maybe the establishment. I don't know. I see them as an enemy, not a political enemy, not like a real life enemy.
For sure.
I don't think that, and you know, there's people, not a lot. I mean, I'm not a well-known person, but the people who hate me really hate me. So it's not like if I said, God dang, you know, everybody, let's, you know, Trump is an idiot. Let's, you know, come and listen to my voice. I'm H.A. Goodman. Be like, you know what? Go F yourself. We hate you. And, you know, so that's, I mean, but if I truly felt that way inside, I wouldn't care if they hated me. But I'm just saying, I don't think my voice, I think my voice is best suited for pointing out the hypocrisy, explaining that, hey, they cheated Bernie Sanders. Like, I'm always going to bring that up because the Democratic establishment has already, they've flattened and stomped on that movement. That was a beautiful movement. It was very, very beautiful. And it was a moment in time where, let's put it this way, if Bernie won, the establishment would have had to come on board. He would have easily won the election. It's not the other way around. Like, they think that it's progressives who must come on board. They're wrong, because the progressives are like, yeah.
Listen, let me reiterate something. You and I see 100. Everything I've heard you say tonight, I am in 100% agreement with regard to the Democratic establishment. I think we need to completely separate ourselves from the establishment and have a political movement, whether it's a third party or not. I don't really care about that distinction, but we need to have a movement and as a block that can hold either party accountable or be strong enough to run third parties on a state and local level, and eventually get to where because the Democratic Party is our political rival. They are the problem in terms of moving progressivism forward. However, where you and I differ is I see a clear and present assault against progressivism, not only from the quiet now, not quiet, but the out of power Democratic Party, but an onslaught. Everything that we believe in as progressives is currently under siege, under attack by the Republican Party, who has all branches of the government. So if we're fighting for specific issues, you can't not acknowledge and see what's happening to the progressive movement. I don't care that people feel that if we attack Donald Trump, that means we're in solidarity with the Democratic Party. Keep listening to me long enough, and you'll realize that I want to beat the Democratic Party just as much as I want to beat Trump. But I have to fight against Trump because the things that if you want single payer, we're going even further away from single payer than Obamacare was. Obamacare was a Republican bill. We're going further right than that. So how can you see our values being attacked and only focus on enemy one when enemy two is out there just burning this whole house down?
Because I'll give you another analogy. I know the drunk driver. I'm not defending the drunk driver. But I blame the bar that killed the sober driver, okay, who could have driven all the passengers, and then gave the keys to the drunk guy. The reason we have
HA,
Trump,
wait, no, I gotta hit you there because you actually set this up perfectly for me. You're gonna leave the drunk driver out there while you go to the bar and criticize the bar, bro. We gotta shut the drunk driver down.
But there's nothing that I could say. I mean, I do shut him down. I let's put it this way.
He's still driving out there. He's still knocking over old women. He's running over kids. I mean, he's literally drunk on the road still right now. And you're at the bar trying to criticize the bar.
No. Well, I mean, if the bar gets sued and the bar, my thing is, it's not that I don't give him a free pass, well, let's put it this way. I don't approve. I don't say, oh, he's doing a great job. I agree with the immigrant ban. I look at it as both parties. If Democrats are upset at the immigrant ban, then why on earth didn't they make a big deal about Libya under President Obama and Hillary Clinton, which exacerbated the refugee crisis? I don't think that's egregious to point that out.
I don't think it is either. I agree.
And my thing is, it's like, everybody has their voice, and people are going to say that people have been saying that I've been a Republican for a long time. Let's put it this way. The main thing, I wrote an article about Rand Paul in 2014. Nobody read it. Like the guy who wrote the hit piece on me in Daily Beast, or Raw Story did a hit piece on me because because I wrote an article about Rand Paul. And I said that because of the foreign policy difference, because of the fact that at least back then, he was a non-interventionist and he would bring soldiers home, all these things, whatever. I said, you know what? Those same people were happy that George H.W. Bush was going to vote for Clinton. Those same people on CNN were saying, oh my goodness, this is so great. All the Republican housewives are going to vote for Clinton over Trump. Isn't that fantastic? Mm-hmm. Nobody saw the irony in that. Mm-hmm. So, but when I did it, who am I? I'm just, nobody really knows who I am. Whatever. When I did it, it was like, oh, big deal. Oh, this guy's a fake, a phony. I don't care because my value system, I think, is best expressed by saying, if you care about the refugee crisis, don't cause one. Mm-hmm. Or if you care about Sessions being racist, then why on earth is Cory Booker and Jeff Sessions teaming up? I guess it's a good thing. I don't know, for joint legislation honoring Selma marchers. Or why on earth did Ivanka Trump help raise money? Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. This is a Politico article. I actually had it in my phone because for today, for this evening, I can read it to you, but it's in Politico. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump raised money for Cory Booker's Senate run initially.
So what do you say? What do you say then to what do you say to the people in Texas who have that Jeff Sessions has now dropped the lawsuit against voter suppression in Texas, and instead of fighting back against that, you're saying, yeah, but Jeff Sessions and Cory Booker, they did a thing together back in the day.
No, because I also say in all my writing, you could check, Ben, my counterpropa. I have a new publication called Counterpropa, and on all my counterpropa articles, almost all of them are published in the Huffington Post. I always try to, in many of them, and I always try to in my YouTube channel, even though my YouTube channel is like hardcore against the Democratic Party, I always bring up the Voting Rights Amendment Act of 2015 from John Conyers. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody on MSNBC, nobody on CNN, nobody on Slate, nobody all of them. They don't bring that up, and that could really impact anything Sessions could do. And I keep saying anything he could do is already, because in 2013 the court gutted parts of the Voting Rights Act,
Section 5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so that was 2013. It's 2017. None of the Democrats did anything. President Obama didn't, focus on that. Nobody did. Hillary never. Yeah, that's funny that she never said anything about that. So my thing is, there's a bill out there from John Conyers, and it already addresses it. If they put all the emphasis and all the media money on that bill as opposed to Russia hacking the election, you'd get the bill or a version of it passed. But that's not the way the Democratic Party works. They don't, from the way I see it, it's like they're a political enemy or adversary. At least the Republicans. I mean, the way I see the Republican Party is like, you go into a cage with a lion and you get upset the lion's going to eat. I mean, that's a lion. That's what a lion does. But who pushed you in the cage? Democrats. Why do we have Trump?
So, bro, are you going to turn around? I'm going to use, every time you use an analogy, are you going to turn around and fuss? Are you going to turn around and fuss at the cage, at the zookeeper who threw you in? Or are you going to turn around and beat the hell out of the lion so you can live? I mean, seriously, we got to do both, man. And then once you beat the lion, see, this is where I agree with you, because people are like, once we beat Trump, in their mind, when I say our mind, I'm thinking like the average viewer, they feel like the Democratic Party is the vessel through which we beat Trump. And what I'm pushing is we cannot allow the establishment, the Democratic establishment, the DNC, the Debbie Wassermans, the Tom Perez's, we cannot allow them to be the best advocates against Trump, because that's going to fool the average voter into thinking that the Democratic Party is their hero. In reality, it's those of us who have been thrown in that ring with the lion. We've got to beat the hell out of that lion, and then we got to come out and beat the hell out of the zookeeper. But if we don't beat the lion, if we don't beat Trump, then people are going to look for someone. There are people who are hurting and desperate, and they really are just now getting woke. Like, I think the summary of this is a lot of our problems have already been here, and they've been exacerbated by the Democratic Party. And if you're just now getting woke, you need to be fully aware of how complicit and how much co-conspirators the Democratic Party has been. But if we're not fighting Trump, they're going to be fooled into thinking that the real heroes are going to be the Democratic Party. And that really undermines the progressive movement, because we are the only ones who are really fully equipped to fight against Trump. I'll let you get the last word, man, because I got a couple of I only have 2 minutes here. Get the last word.
Yeah. I'll just, first of all, I really appreciate speaking with you in this opportunity. I'll just end my philosophy with this. You eloquently gave your view of how to defeat Trump. Go at him and then try to unify Democrats. My view is this: Democratic Party doesn't care about, not only doesn't care, it hates progressives. They care only about money, and they care only about, and the only way, my formula in 2015 was Bernie, and he would have destroyed Trump. He would have done very, very, very well. He would have won the presidency. We'd be talking about single payer. Now, the only way to defeat Trump, for me, in my humble view, is to focus only on Bernie Sanders, if you want to pick people, Bernie Sanders, Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, which happen to also all three be major threats to the Democratic Party, and also point out the hypocrisy within the Democratic Party. The only way for them to learn, unfortunately, is for people, and I know that this is a kind of, really extreme statement. And this is not aimed at you, Ben.
No, that's cool.
Or it's not aimed. It's not aimed at anybody who wants to do both. Go after Trump and go after
the Democrats. Yeah.
Which I think is a very responsible, good, awesome way of doing it. But if you had a huge block of H.A. Goodmans or whatever, people who are like, I'm not voting for an establishment, and that's it. So if Trump wins again, then that's too bad. If you had that, then Democrats won't raise money, and they would have to change immediately. But the entire political establishment is based around whatever the DNC wants, which is why I focus on Hillary. It's whatever the narrative that they want, and I just don't see. I disagree with Trump. I don't go hard. I address my disagreements. I always say in my YouTube channel, I voted for Bernie and Joe, and I always say I don't. But when I go after Democrats, I think that if you had a huge base where 40% of the Democratic Party was saying F this, there's a bunch of hypocrites, President Obama did this, Hillary would have done that, I'll vote Jill Stein, then they'll say, oh my God, we're not going to get donor money anymore. And then they'll change it immediately. That's where I'm coming from. That's my philosophy.
Let me throw an analogy out there. I did say you get the last word, and I'm just going to go over to overtime. It doesn't matter because I have at least 2 or 3 other stories I have to cover tonight, or else my producers will quit and fire me. But let me try this analogy on for you and see what you think. We're in a bar fight. You and me, we're in a bar fight, and some random dude gets the best of me, and he starts beating my ass, right? And I'm looking for you to, help me out in that bar fight. And instead of helping me out in that bar fight, you turn around and start critiquing whoever the person was who triggered the fight, the person who set the fight up in the first place, the person who could have prevented. They totally could have stopped this from happening. They totally could have stopped you. You go after the girl. Matter of fact, you go after the girl that I'm there with because she's the one who provoked it, right? You like, listen here, sister. If you had not provoked this, Ben wouldn't be over there getting his ass beat right now. And I'm over there. I'm like, AJ, bro, where are you not going to help me? There are people who are waiting for you, man. There are people. But listen. In all fairness to you and your voice and your platform,
I would help you. I would help you first. I wouldn't do anything but help you.
But you're leaving some anyway. I'm not even going to finish that sentence because, in all due respect for your platform, I would not pretend to be able to tell you or have the gall to tell you have to do this, because anybody who came to my show and said, Ben, you have to do that, I'll tell them to kiss my ass. So I'm not saying that to you, but what I am saying is that I'm just making my own personal appeal to you. I've done it in our DMs, and more importantly than that is that this is a conversation that honestly a lot of progressives are having internally right now. There's a lot of tension between progressives of your ilk and progressives of my ilk. I do have to make one correction before I close out all this with a sentimental touch. I am not looking to unify with the Democratic Party. You said that, and I didn't say anything right then, but I want to make sure I feel just as vehemently opposed to the Democrats, particularly the establishment, as you do, because they have not changed. They're not going to change. They don't want to change. They want to crush progressives. And there's no way we can unify with someone who wants us to be subservient and serve them. Like, they want to crush us as well as make us serve them. We have to kick their asses. So I want to make sure people are clear. In no way, form, or fashion do I feel like we should unify with the Democratic Party, because they want to destroy us. They want to turn us all into neoliberals and just be happy with whatever they do. But at the same time, as we fight against them tooth and nail, we've got this, you know, you use the lion analogy. We got this lion out here who's ready to kill us all. And hyperbolically speaking, within the framework of the analogy, people, I'm not saying Donald Trump is trying to kill us. You know, somebody's going to say Ben is fear mongering or whatever. But I feel like we have to do both and. But it's your platform, it's your voice. You made your point extremely clear. I mean, I think I agree with probably 90% of everything that you said. And just the only thing is like, you know, I just need more smart people fighting against Trump with me that realize as we punch to the right, we also have to punch to not even to the left because they're not the left. we gotta punch to the right twice. We gotta punch to the center right, because we have to fight the Democrats. And we can't listen, man, this is the only appeal I'll make to you. We can't let the Democratic establishment be the best fighters against Trump, because that's going to fool a lot of people, the average voters, to think that the Democratic Party are the Democratic Party, they're not our heroes. They're not our champions. They are our political rivals. They are an impediment to progress. And we can't let them be, because that's all they're doing. They're rebranding themselves to be these great heroes against Trump. In reality, they are co-conspirators, if not complicit with Donald Trump. Enough of my voice, man. Tell everybody how to get up with you and what you got going on next.
You know, it's just H.A. Goodman YouTube, and then I have a new publication called counterpropa.com, and that's underneath in the description of my YouTube channel. And Ben, hey, man, thank you so much for this awesome opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Anytime. I won't unfollow you now, man. You're making too many good points for me to unfollow you. But what I am going to do is I'm going to mute words that reference Hillary. I don't want to hear about Hillary. She's gone.
So you're going to unfollow me now, Joe?
No, I don't want to hear about Hillary. She needs to be the name that is unspoken. But I tell you what, we can agree on. The more they advertise Chelsea Clinton, man, you side by side, man, we gotta shut that shit down. Like Chelsea has no place in our political discourse. Stay home, Chelsea. Make your money. Go be a millionaire. Go do whatever the hell you want. Just stay out of American politics.
Check it out, real quick. Check this out. Chelsea is going to be a force, quote unquote. She's coming. They're going to rally around her.
Yeah, well, we're coming for her, and I'm pretty sure you and I will be on the lockstep against her, because she needs to stay out of the picture. H.A., thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Thank you.
857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. Yeah, we're just going to go into overtime. What the hell? Why not? I mean, I've got so many other stories to cover. H.A., you know, obviously H.A. has some good points there. With regard to his critique of the Democratic Party, I don't think maybe one thing he said that I disagree with. But, you know, we say 90% of that we say here all the time. You hear it on Politics and Grits. You hear it from The Way with Anoa. You hear it from Brandon Sutton and Project Sanity, because the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment, they are not interested one bit in making actual progress. They are quite satisfied with the way the system works, because the system works great for them. And they are incompetent against Trump. I don't care what the reason is, but they are incompetent against fighting Trump. They can't do it. They can't do it because they're so busy fighting us. They're so busy fighting progressivism. We saw it through the primaries, and they're relitigating it now. And they have their little minor trolls. They have their minor trolls on Twitter who are doing it, and they have their minor voices on different media outlets that are still punching left when they lost to Trump. The people who are talking the most now are the people who should go hide in shame, because they were so wrong about this election. So I mean, I agree with a lot of what he said about, I'm just tired of hearing about Hillary, you know, because the more we speak her up, the more likely it's like Bloody Mary. You say it too many times and she'll show up. Anyway, I digress. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hi, Ben, it's me, Bryce. Great interview. I do rock with H.A. and others of our progressive movement, no doubt. And regardless of whose fault it was that we're in this position, you know, we just got to do what we got to do. I mean, Hillary, you know, is done. And I understand what H.A. is saying, okay? Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like they really can't come back because of the movement that we have. And even if they try to, it's going to be very, very hard. And I just don't think that's going to work for them as much. And we have to fight on all sides. And, I understand about what he said about Trump winning again, because trust me, if they put another establishment person, Trump's going to win slightly, because even if he kind of rips apart the country, could he still lose to an establishment person? Maybe. But I don't know, because everybody hates the establishment the way it is. So I think it's a strong possibility that, he could still win. And I think it'd be foolish for an establishment person to run. Now, I do agree with Tina Turner, Bernie, and other progressives that if they run, they would definitely win in a landslide. And the DNC messed up Bernie, and we know about everything. And it's important not to forget, don't get me wrong, but I think we're at the point where, like I said before, about progressives and there's, midlife crisis that we have. I think we have to kind of not push stuff aside, like forget stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't get me wrong. We need to hit everything. But it's coming to a point now where we got to get this asshole out of office as fast as we can and then go from there. I think that's more important right now. Yes, it's important to get to all the points as progressives and with their issues and everything, with their problems and Democrats being in power and all. Trust me. But the Republicans don't give a damn and don't do whatever they can. So it's just, it is what it is on level.
Yeah.
But,
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for the call, man. I think we're back live on YouTube now, finally. 857-600-0518. I know a lot of people want to chime in. The phone was blowing up during the interview. So if you want to join the conversation, please do. Please join in. While we take some other calls, I do want to give a shout out to all of the women of the Progressive Army and all the women out there who are fighting, all the marches and the solidarity, the Day Without Women today, and of course it is International Women's Day. It's the background of it reminds me of Labor Day, because in a lot of ways they try to, when I say they, I guess the powers that be try to remove the socialist founding of these days of International Women's Day, of Labor Day. They try to remove the socialist beginnings. It was first observed February 28th, 1909, and it was organized by the Socialist Party of America. And so it was predominantly celebrated by the socialist movement in communist countries until it was adopted in 1975 by the United Nations. And since then, there's been this, kind of a rewrite of its beginnings. But it has. We have today this iteration where we're acknowledging the women who we not only stand in solidarity with, but we stand in awe of. And there is one woman that I think I've mentioned on my show before that I have to mention again. And I won't say her full name, but her name is Mildred. And I mentioned her because I never forget standing in a room full of leaders, quote unquote leaders, and men, predominantly men. This woman was by far the smartest, boldest, most straightforward, the one who wasn't biting her tongue, the one who wasn't trying to beat around the bush to appease people, the person who said what needed to be said. And I'm sitting back as a young man. I think I was in my early 20s. I'm sitting back as a young man and I'm surveying the room and I'm like, I'm learning and I'm trying to see, who do I look up to? Who's a person that I could admire as a role model? And the truth of the matter is, it was not a single man in the room that I could look at and say, I need to be like that person. It was Mildred. It was a woman who was the best example of what I thought was a man. In reality, it's just the best example of being a human being. So salute to all the women out there. We love you. We respect you. And those of us who don't, we need to start, I love you. Let me speak for myself. I love you. I respect you. Stand in solidarity with you in your fight and everything that you do. All right, caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, this is Brianna.
Hey, Brianna, what's on your mind?
Nothing much. I was just wondering, I just recently got onto the show. Wasn't able to watch, the H.A. Goodman interview or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering, have you heard about, the Kansas governor being elected to be part of Trump's cabinet, to be like a UN ambassador for agriculture?
I haven't yet. Ambassador for, is that something that's happening today, or maybe I'm not even hearing?
It just happened recently.
Okay.
A couple hours ago. Like, it was just announced.
Okay,
and the reason I brought that up, because...
Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up, because that's one seat we could focus on and winning, because that's the state that Bernie Sanders won, and we can find somebody to run against, like either in the Democrat primary as a progressive, or somebody to run to become that new governor.
Okay.
I'm not sure who that can be, because I don't know anyone in Kansas, and so
that's a tough fight. I mean, let me tell you, that's a tough fight. Kansas is as red as you can ever imagine red being, but I like your train of thought there. It presents an opportunity for progressives to make some moves. So definitely, Brianna, thanks so much for the call. Definitely want to open up the lines for other callers, 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. A lot, there's a lot still that needs to be said. And I'm going to give it a few more minutes here before we shut it down. Shout out to Tim Black. I saw Tim Black in the chat room over there. Tim Black at night, Tim Black everywhere. Tim Black is everywhere. So shout out to Tim Black. I'm sure if you're here, then you probably already know about the Tim Black show. All right, folks, I'm actually I'm going to shut it down here. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Special thanks to H.A. Goodman for spending as much time as we did, and I hope the audience, above anything else, got something out of it. There was a lot in there to get out, and I'm not just saying that because it was a conversation that I had. It really unpacks the tension that exists on the left. Not in the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party, they're just perfectly fine with Russia. But there's those of us on the left who disagree on how to move forward, and that was a useful, meaningful conversation. So with that being said, let me hang up now before some more people actually do call in. We'll see you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.